Heads Up on Friday the 27th of January. As usual, myself and Sanjoy here. Quite a lot of political manoeuvring going on this week that we're seeing from both UK and across the pond. Do you want to take us through some of that?
Right, yeah. Well, it started off with the pound picking up quite strongly on Tuesday with the news that Parliament would be required to attend to this matter of approving Article 50, the pushing of the button for Article 50. Also in that news was that it wasn't regarded as necessary by the Supreme Court for the devolved parliaments of Northern Ireland and Scotland to discuss these things too.
Didn't go down very well with Nicola Sturgeon.
No, Nicola wants to talk about it anyway, by the way. So there will be a vote in Holyrood whether people like it or not. And then we've had a sort of gradual accumulation of kind of wonderment at the progress of Trump, which is really dynamic. I have to hand it to him. He's got straight to the job. And we're seeing some sort of political pressures entering the pricing of the dollar as well. Today is Friday, and we had two redlined important numbers come out today, which address the US economy. One is the USD GDP for quarter four, the last 3 months of last year, and that came out at growth of 1.9% instead of 2.2%, and the previous figure was 3.5%. The importance of this is that, we've got the Fed ready there to increase rates if growth stays at 3.5%, and it's not. So maybe the underlying firmness of the US dollar, which is because we expect them to raise rates again, maybe that's getting further away, and that's particularly important in the context of Trump's protectionism, which might require a weak dollar for it to really work. The other figure was the USA durable goods figure, durable good orders. Now, these are goods which last longer than 3 years. What can that be? Apparently, cars and TVs, which showed minus 0.4%. This is done on a month against previous month basis. And that's not very healthy, though I guess January is probably not a very likely month to go and buy a
I think
car or a
if you were going to do it, you would have done it last month.
TV or a fridge. Yeah, it's more the sort of comparing December and January, but there you go. That's how it is. So maybe some signs of slight faltering there from the US economics. Today is also the day when Mrs. May and Trump will be in conference, telling us how they will save the Western world. I don't know. I see headlines in the Times or signs in the Times that she's going to tell him off for his attitude to women or this or that. I suspect none of that will happen. But what may be the effect of this is that maybe the EC will be more conciliatory, though I suspect they're probably just likely to be angry. So there we are. You might have wondered why we talk so much about politics and on this little chat, and the reason is because it really affects our everyday life. The business we're in, essentially trade, and trade is buying, selling goods across borders. And we do have an extraordinary level of alternative facts, people grabbing the megaphone. The price of or the crop forecast for hazels is now made by Erdogan. Maybe the guy knows best.
Yeah.
But this is this is how politics affects, and I think a fairly good case is one of your products, pecans, Adam.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a huge amount of pecans are grown south of the US border in Mexico, sort of along that that border that's so contentious at the moment.
That's right.
And a lot of that material is bought by US shellers, brought across the border and cracked in US factories and sold as USA origin pecans. Now, of course, Trump's latest manoeuvre is that we're talking about a blanket 20% duty
on Mexican imports.
On all Mexican imports,
Which is how he conceives of getting the money back to build the wall.
Which is an interesting one, because that'll be the US consumer that's paying the extra margin that's put on it by US companies to pay for the duty of importing.
And of course, these may not be products which can arise in California, like, I don't know, tequila, the beer, but I think that's what people are concerned about is like what happens when these slogans become political orders. He seems to be in a great rush, and I do find that refreshingly honest, that he is seeming to do what he did, promised to do. But I don't know whether things will pan out. For instance, in this Mexican thing, he tweeted that it was like it or lump it. This was what was going to happen, and if you don't want to come, don't. And the Mexican guy cancelled the visit.
I think one of the big concerns, of course, is sort of comes from retaliation as well. I mean, when you start imposing heavy duties on imported goods, then all of a sudden other countries start returning the favour, and it becomes a war of trade. I mean, for instance, sticking with the pecans, a huge amount of the US crop, as much as 70% from the Georgian side, was bought as in-shell material and shipped to China for Chinese New Year. Now, of course, one of Trump's other policies that he's talking about bringing in is huge duties on Chinese imports. And you could see that working the other way, and Chinese then putting duties on goods imported from the US, which would affect pecans again.
Yeah, that's right. And behind this maybe is a very long-term trend which goes all the way back to the Vietnam War, where maybe America doesn't want to be the world's policeman, doesn't want to be the leader as well. I think this is what Mrs. May was trying to get through to them, is that there's a sort of a responsibility to the strongest member of a group to lead that group and to perhaps be the patron as well. If America turns inwards, the rest of the world has got a problem, because I think it's something like 25-30% of the world's demand. So 25%, 30% of the world's products end up there. That's of course going to hurt China particularly. It's a reversal of a lot of what's happened in the last 15-20 years, and I guess ends with a reassertion of the Cold War. But that's just political hot talk. What's important now is things like the pecans are extremely related to global trade, and when you consider it costs basically $50 to maybe an absolute maximum $100 to move a ton of anything from right across the world, from anywhere to anywhere. This will, when you start putting the barriers up, this will affect all our trades to some extent. So we just have to go with the flow and don't want to make any enemies or whatever, but things I think are getting more interesting, to put it that way.
Well, on that note, I think we'll love you and leave you, and any questions, of course, feel free to give us a call. You know exactly where we are, and any inquiries to pass on. So
thank you
very much.
Thanks.